Hammaker. Indianapolis is going to be your new favorite place. Cooper Webb victorious in Indy.
Probably one of the easier ones of my career.
Hey guys, welcome to Title 24 presented by NBC Sports. Got a good show for you guys today. Before we get cracking, I got to thank our sponsors, Dunlop, Boxo, Quad Lock, and man, we're United Motorsports. We're ready to go. Before we get going, RV, you are at the Spring-a-Ding Amateur Nationals in Texas. So how's it been going? Like, give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good. Today is actually the very first, the start of the week here, Monday. They do 2 days of Supercross here at Oak Hill, and then we'll move into motocross. So we just got done doing 2 practices, 7 to 8 limited and open 50 class. So yeah, we're here. We're just we're cruising. We finally got some good weather. It's been a little bit shitty weather leading up into this. But it's supposed to be 70, 78 degrees today. So, in most of the week. So yeah, it's supposed to be good.
Yeah, I think we got some of that weather that you guys got early on yesterday. It was pretty brutal here. Yeah, we got a ton of rain, inches and inches. So that's good. So the boys, Braxton Gage, are enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole learning curve. Just obviously going to this size of a track, this many people, obviously how fast and how elevated these kids are in all these classes, at least all the top kids, right? So we're gonna do a lot of learning and figuring it out and just getting their feet wet, because it's a ton for any one of these little kids or 8-year-old to put on their shoulders to come to their first nationals. So we're a bit of a fish out of a water right now. So
that's all right. Hey, you gotta jump in. So
yeah,
it's a good experience for him. That's great. Well, good luck. Good luck the rest of the week. I know I'll be tuned in to you guys.
Yeah.
So everybody listening and watching the pod, show your support for the boys and follow their journey. They both got their own Instagram handles, so go check them out for sure. Dude, Indy was awesome. I mean, you know how it is. I think we've talked about it off there before, RV. Just when you go to the Midwest and the fans there, their loyalty. You liked racing at Indy. I for sure loved racing at Indy. The place was absolutely packed. The fans were enthusiastic. So that booth there is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can see if you're watching the pictures and stuff there, that's with Rico Abreu, World of Outlaws driver, sprint car driver. And anyhow, he was there. And Kenny Moore, he's the defensive captain of the Indianapolis Colts. However, the fans like surround the booth and they were just like loving it. We're shooting high fives, signing autographs, and it was a lot of fun to just see again how passionate they are. So we appreciate all of you Midwest Supercross SMX fans. It's right, like they're so awesome there.
Yeah, and that's such a iconic and great stadium to go in and race at. Really, it's so it's one of the newer ones on the circuit, and I was privileged enough to be able to race there. Like I said, just when you walk in that Lucas Oil Stadium, it's really cool, right downtown too, and Indy's always a fun town to go out and hang out and watch some Supercross while you're there.
Yeah, it was awesome. So appreciate all of you guys fans, and yeah, it's just cool, like high-fiving and yelling. It's cool. Hey, before we get going into our Indy analysis, shout out birthday to Valerie Lena for Tugno. Valerie says, "You both are legends to my younger self. Today I turned 24 and it's both of your numbers combined. It'll be so special if I got a happy birthday. My dad would freak out. My racing number has always been 4 because I grew up with Ricky racing and my dad loved Villopoto. So I have tons of t-shirts watching his races with my dad. Love you both so much. Valerie, happy 24th birthday." Right?
Yeah, happy birthday.
That's cool. That is
yeah, that is. It's cool. It's 24, big 24, title 24. Yeah, it works out perfect.
Dude,
So
I wish I was 24 again. Right?
Yeah, I got all
So
these.
happy birthday from RV and I, Valerie. Thanks for being a support. Tell your dad thank you also.
Yep.
And this we'll dedicate this show to you today. So all right, moving on. S Reet 711, great equalizer for Indy. What do you think? So you watched a little bit of it when you could.
Yep.
What did you think the equalizer was? The sand section or the ruts?
I just think that whole track, right? Like the track was a kind of an interesting layout. Like the rhythm section kind of come across the start. Nothing was, at least from TV perspective, it wasn't super gnarly, steep, jumpy. Part of that's because the track, the SMX track crew builds that track that way just because it gets so ruddy. But I thought it was good. It was a different style, a little bit different style of Supercross. The ruts were the big equalizer, right? Like we saw quite a few guys have some pretty big get-offs. That's when you got to really know to kind of pump the brakes and, be able to be smooth and ride those ruts. And also it's ever changing, that Indy dirt is just so soft. It just starts to get deeper and deeper, and you start dragging foot pegs in places, and the track really breaks down. So I thought it raced well. And right. I thought the biggest thing was the sand took some guys down too, but to me, sand. Yes, was it a big giant sweeper sand turn as we're watching Coop go through it right now? It just pushes the front wheel right there, and that sand gets a little heavy on it. Who do we have here?
Mumford goes down, and then Shock. There's nowhere for Shock to go, and then Cole Davies ran into Shimoda.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Ricky, you were there closer to the floor than I was. Obviously, I'm here in Texas, but to me, the sand looked like a lot of different sand sections. We have sand pretty much in every Supercross track now. I don't know how much different that sand was than other sand, but it did take down a lot of dudes.
I think a little bit, just looking back at it real quick, is that I think it's because you were turning that the whole time, and it was such a long turn, right, and a double apex. So if you took the outside, you had that first apex and it straightened up a little bit, and then another apex. So that's why I think it was. And I think some of the guys just had way too much trust, like they're just trusting it too much. But that would be easy to do because RV, that when they brought that sand in, it was relatively wet, like compacted. So maybe it gave a false sense of holdup, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the inside of the track there was a bit of water that was seeping out of I think they said the sand on Race Day Live.
Yep, that's exactly where it came from. I agree with you, RV. Like, for sure, for me, the equalizer would have been the ruts. I think all the guys, for the most part, was the sand catching some dudes out for sure. But overall, the whole track, the ruts, and just how Indy is always formed up. When the track conditions are soft, Seco 290. When the track conditions are soft and rutted, did you set suspension a different way? Like, did you stiffen it or anything?
Yeah, so if it's real grabby like that, it's really sucking the bike down. You'll typically stiffen it up a little bit, but hopefully you're close enough. It's 2 or 3 clicks one direction or the other. Dunlop does a good job at maybe running a smaller rear tire so it's not grabbing at the ruts. Typically we would sometimes play around with that. But yeah, it's something that you just have to know in a 17 race series like this, right? That you're going to have conditions that are going to be a bit sketchy. And Indy just tends to have that dirt most of the years where it is pretty damn ruddy all the time. So it's one of those weekends you got to come in aware of that and know your limit. It bit some guys pretty hard this last weekend, and just from what I got to watch was certain parts of the track were really bad, but other parts weren't. And you're like, well, what happened right there? Like Joey Savacci's, like when you had the rear camera view of that shot when he went over the bars, and it just looked like maybe he caught an edge of a rut. Like it didn't look too ruddy. Like he got foot pegs. He didn't catch foot pegs.
Sideways, like that back one. RV, like you watch. He didn't get lined up just perfect, and it did exactly what you saw. He went over that little double, and then when he went to hit 3, like his front wheel was just, dude, a half inch over, and it scrubbed his speed, and he kind of cross-threaded. Dude.
Yeah, that was a gnarly one.
It was. I got to tell you what, dude, like from my point of view, that was an impressive win from Coop, because from my standpoint, I want to know what your standpoint is. Like, I mean, listen, Coop normally takes some time to get going, right? And as the race plays out, he gets better and better and better. And dude, he got in the lead in the first lap, and he won wire to wire. I think it was impressive, and not only for that, how he did that, but also like Sexton, when Sexton got into second, I'm like, oh, Sexton's going to reel him in because he did have a little bit of the speed advantage. And I thought Sexton looked good all day, like he does a lot. And dude, he just, Coop just maintained it like it was a very impressive win.
Yeah. And we had talked about coming into Indy, getting to those where Coop's really good at, where he's really strong at, is cutting underneath a lot of the main lines in the 180s, going out of those ruts, putting himself to where parts of the track that haven't been rode on as much. That was a little trick line right there. As he comes out of the sand, was able to double out of it. Only a few guys were able to do that consistently, but no, Coop rode phenomenal. And really, I think at this point, it's his championship to lose. Like he's riding really well right now. His mental game, right? We've talked about it. You've said it 100 times, Ricky, how mentally strong he is. And then, and also going up against Chase, as we're looking at the points right now, 193 for Coop. Chase Sexton sits 15 down. Kenny 26 down. Justin Cooper, also with a phenomenal ride, is sitting 49 points down in fourth.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that Cooper Webb is going to face from a championship standpoint. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think we have 8 races left. I believe 7 or 8 races left, and yeah, I think it's 8. And the rest are all open air stadiums. We're going to be in the Northeast a lot. We got that Northeast swing. It rained last year in Birmingham after our weekend off. That's where we go next. I don't think that the mud is his strong suit.
Yeah.
I do like how he somewhat manages. I like the experience that he brings there. So myself personally, that's going to be Coop's biggest challenge, rather than like actually racing Sexton for speed.
Yep. And so I would agree with that, but also too, it's different weight on your shoulders with a 15-point lead, and we're going to head into all these open stadiums. And as you know, a 15-point lead, and all of a sudden it starts pouring rain outside. You're like, man, why does it have to do this? Just because it puts another set of pressure on Coop to maintain that 15, where say in Chase's position, if it starts raining, he's like, okay, here's my shot, right? Obviously everybody knows goggle failures, bike failures, tip overs, bad starts. When you have weather playing a huge factor in Supercross, it makes it a little easier, I guess, for Chase to be like, okay, here's my chance. I just need a mistake from Coop. And I think Chase is a decent mud rider too. So that's going to be interesting to see what kind of weather we have these next 8 rounds, because like you said, they're all open stadiums. And I'd much prefer as a racer to race in covered stadiums, obviously, because we have controlled environment.
I know. Hey, Chris Young, 88. This is a great question. Webb has shown real progression this year with skimming the whoops and bike control. Would you attribute this to the move to Star? Why do you think Coop is doing better this year?
Well, I think I heard somewhere where he had kind of set his bike up right more for skimming the whoops. A lot of the past few years, maybe it's a little of the way SMX Track Crew has been building the whoops, where they turn into jumpers. Obviously we've seen all of last year we had 9 whoops, so it was a triple. But as soon as they add that extra whoop in, or 2 whoops in, they become more of a blitzing set of whoops. Obviously Indy, that we just saw here, they really deteriorated down and they became kind of jumpers towards the end of the main event. And that's normal for Indy like that. But I think it has to do with his bike setup, right? I think he put some more emphasis on making sure that the bike was comfortable skimming the whoops, which made him be able to, come in just that extra little bit quicker to where he could stay up on top of them.
And he said, and he also said, I think it was around, I don't know what it was, RV, maybe like round 3, that he knew, listen, if I want a realistic shot of winning this championship, I have got to get better in the whoops. So what you're saying, exactly what you're saying, and expanding on that, is like, so that would take an alteration to the bike and performance through the whoops, setup, and just straight up, dude, going out there and working on them. I was at a track with my buddy Ryan Duff, watching his son Wyatt. They're at Spring and Ding with you guys. And dude, Coop was out there at the end of practice. Everyone else was gone, and he was going through the whoops, just learning and trying to get better. Still, and think of this guy. He's a 2-time Supercross champ, been in the game forever, still working on his craft. So that's why it's a combination, like RV said, of setup on the bike and dude, just facing the music and working on your skill straight up. Let's hear Daddy's Money 24V. How does Coop turn down so tight yet keep his speed up? That's because I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, RV, how he stays so low as he sets up, he brakes a little bit earlier, but as he's braking, like the time from when he gets off of the brake to leaning the bike over and in the apex of the corner, he does everything a lot earlier. And because he brakes earlier and then gets off the brakes a little bit earlier, he's able to keep that center speed. Everything begins with how he does those corners so low, with how he brakes and where he brakes, braking a little bit early, giving up that speed, getting into the corner. He doesn't go as deep, but instead of trying to make up one bike length getting into the corner, he makes up 2 bike length. He loses a bit length, but then makes 3 on the exit. So
yep, exactly. Like I think Coop's probably. I've talked to Carlos about this a little bit in the years past. Like he is so heavy on his front brake. Like he's really. I mean, we all use our front brake, but from what I've been told, he's very front brake dependent. And what you said, Ricky, you can't just, if you rush the turn, it pushes you outside, no matter how you do it. Yes, you can drop into some ruts, you can cut down, but why he's able to get so much lower is he gives up a little on the entry, like you said, and he gets off the brakes because you can't turn. Just take your rental car right, and you're racing down the road, and you brake late, and you hold the brakes into the turn. It wants to push the car wide into the other lane. So you got to get off the brakes to get those bikes to turn, any one of these motorcycles to turn. But you got to give up a little bit coming into the turn to slow down, to make that, to do what he's able to do.
Boom. Hey, Justin Cooper got on the box finally. That guy's riding hella good right now. I mean, had some good momentum at Daytona. We talked about it on our podcast last week, but straight up just kept his head down. Obviously, the whoops being jumpers certainly helps his scenario, but that doesn't take away from just straight up how he's riding the rest of the racetrack.
No, you're correct. He obviously being the whoops jumpers worked into his favor maybe a little bit this weekend, but just go back and watch. Very smooth. His roll speed's really good. He doesn't do anything special out on the track or the motorcycle, but he just hits his marks and he's quick while doing it. Like he's not the fastest guy on the track, but he's smooth while doing it, and he takes his time. And obviously the bike's working really well. Both of those Star Yamahas, first and second there. So, he's been riding well all year, and he had some breakout rides last year also. So, we'll see. I'm expecting maybe some more. I mean, that's a big confidence booster to end up on top, stand second on the podium there for, an Indy.
And you know how it is this time of year. Some guys are starting to just kind of maintain and get through the series. And if you're a guy like Justin Cooper and you have some momentum and you're riding well, this is a time of year where guys like that, in my opinion, have an opportunity to get some personal bests and possibly, like for Justin Cooper, his was wanting to get on the podium. Would he love a win? Of course. I think that in the right scenario, he could possibly get a win. He had great speed there tonight. So keep your eyes open for Coop. Just definitely killed it. There's no doubt about that. And another thing to what you said, RV, about the great points of he doesn't do a lot of things great, but he does everything really, really well. And he's super consistent and he flows really well. I just like he's efficient. He just does everything the same all the time. He's not.
And like you said, being that we're basically halfway, a little over halfway of SMX. Guys are getting maybe a little bit lazy, a little long on the tooth, waiting for this, weekend off. I think we get a weekend off eventually here, but that's this weekend. This weekend. Yeah. So that's what's so tough about Supercross and SMX is how many weekends, repetitiveness of that you have to show up and be on basically 18 weekends at a 17, or 17 out of 18 weekends. So it becomes long, and it becomes, you can find guys, laboring a little bit from maybe just the travel or nagging injuries, or just kind of over it a little bit, right? Just because, okay, we need a weekend off just to recharge the batteries a little bit. And if you can keep digging, keep grinding away, that's what Coop did.
Ken Roczen, I saw he posted he was sick all last week. And I was wondering because he had some really good laps at the beginning. He went down in the first corner and he was blazing through and he looked good in qualifying practice. And here we go right here. Just with this hairpin 180 first corner, anything can happen. What happens is the guys on the outside, like Coop, they shut the door and things narrow up so fast there. And there was just nowhere for him to go. El Hombre goes down. Boom, just a victim of circumstance. He runs down. Really needed to get a little bit better jump. And that probably wouldn't happen, but you can't turn back the clock. I mean, really, I think outside of, like he was sick. So there's, in my opinion, it sucks because he had some good momentum going. He is reinserting himself into the championship. Still not out of it yet because, like I said, he's a great mud racer and the rest of the stadiums are open air. But you know how it is in the Premier Series. You don't want to give up any points. But I haven't counted him out for the championship yet.
Yeah. It's always, everybody's dealing with something a little bit, different from nagging injuries to obviously a sickness. I feel like that track maybe would have been really good for Kenny if obviously taking into account of being sick, but also that first turn crash, like getting a bad jump. Looked like him and Jason Anderson were pretty far back there and ended up down on the ground. So there's really nothing, other than looking back and say, hey, I botched the start. Like you can't botch the start, especially the way they had that first turn laid out was very, very tight. As we're watching, you can see Kenny, we got him highlighted right here. As he drops behind Chase and Dylan right there, and then it's pretty much over at that point. And then Jason goes down and they sticks his front wheel right in it. So as you can see, like I said, that's a tight first turn. So, make it out clean is tough sometimes.
Right. I had an opportunity to talk to Chase, and I don't like bugging him, but I just felt like I needed to just say, hey man, like we support you here, and like it sucks like having to call it the way that we call it. And he was so nice, so receptive, and it's just like I understand your position. It wasn't verbatim like that, but he understood where he was. Anyhow, I'm like, hey, you're a badass, dude. Just keep going and doing what you do, and you get it sorted out. But what do you take away from the weekend, RV, and just like what went down? And with 8 races to go, I want you to break us down what you thought from the weekend from Chase, and then with the weekend off, what needs to be the mindset going into the last stretch here?
Man, it's tough. It's tough. Like you said, we've been hard on him last season. We've been hard on him this season. We're calling the shots as we see it, and sometimes it's tough. The one thing, and you've mentioned it a ton of times, Ricky, that Chase just keeps his head down and keeps grinding. Yes, does he still have mistakes that are popping up? Does he still have things he's got to work on? Yeah, everybody does. Currently right now, Chase he has to minimize those mistakes. And I think, with 8 rounds left, being 15 points down, he's got to go out and really just try to win as many races as he can, and the cards will fall where they fall. If we get mud races, we get mud races. If we don't, try to win as many races as you can. As we're watching Chase here in the sand to pick his bike up, that sand section ate a lot of people up this weekend. And but yeah, from that standpoint, you can't change much because he's in this position for a reason, meaning as good as he is and as many races as he won and past champion, you got to go back to the drawing board mentally, I think, and just keep working on that and not trying to let those past mistakes cause any more burdens on him.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. I mean, and again, I just go back to, I try to put myself, there's nothing that you can't do wholesale changes. I don't feel at this point. I would be a believer in just get the bike the way it is. You're always striving to be better, right? But at some stage, just ride what you have, ride around the areas where maybe it doesn't perform the way that it does, but at least you know what you're riding and you can adapt. That's what I would do if it were me. I think, RV, that's what you would do if you were in there. Just like at some stage, just just start going riding your motorcycle. And I think that would be a help instead of having so many moving parts. If you haven't, you guys head over to boxousa.com. Don't forget to use the promo code TITLE24 to get 10% off your order. And that 10% applies to anything on the website. For our Boxo breakdown this week, RV, it had to be the pass on Barcia and Plessinger. Those guys are practice buddies at the Baker factory. And there's no harm, no foul for me. Walk us through that pass and tell us what JB and how he did.
I thought as Justin comes up the inside and runs AP high. AP was trying to come back underneath of him, but Justin just hung up there. He hung himself up there longer than AP anticipated, and when AP went to try to come down, grabbed a hold of his rear tires. So that is a typical, or I should say, spot on block pass. That wasn't dirty in any way. You can see Justin come up underneath him. AP was trying to come back, cut it even tighter, and it just didn't work out. At that last second, the only thing AP could have done was noticed it and then tried to ride the wall around the top and maybe would have been able to save it. But you can see as he tried to turn down, he just says, man, he's right there. But yeah, training partners, training buddies. I wonder how that'll be, how Monday is today out there at the Baker's factory.
Yeah, he did. It was just that split second that JB did. I mean, if he would have let off the brake, 2 inches earlier, everything would have been all right. And it's just a miscalculation, in my personal opinion, from AP. AP even said it. We had him on the post-race show. They talked to him a little bit, and he's like, yeah, it's JB. He's my practice partner, and just, I tried to come up underneath him, and he came down. You can check out the post-race show.
But the thing is about that, though, is they call it no harm, no foul. And why I say that is it wasn't this typical, Justin or Barcia, where he just comes in out of nowhere and blows you out, right? That was a slower speed. That was a textbook block pass essentially, and that's the way passes, or call it, if you want to use the word, takeouts. That's kind of the way. That's the way they should happen. Slow speed like that. That's not Justin's typical way of block passing. So I thought that's all racing there for me. I like it.
Yeah, he just guarded that his practice partner AP wouldn't come back underneath him. That way he wouldn't get passed back. Also, before we button up the 450, dude, I thought AP did really well. I think he ended up 5th, I believe it was. Let's see here. Yeah, no. Barcia got 5th. Plessinger got 6th. But that was good. Like Pless said, that his bike's working well, and taking all things considered with how ruddy it was, RV, like he did good. He hit the ground, came back to 6th, and I will say Barcia was riding really, really well. This past weekend. So great to see JB getting it done and fighting through. Like, it's been kind of a lackluster year for him, and for when you're bummed. And sorry. Barcia was 4th, Pless is 5th. That's right. And I just think it's good to soldier on. It's easy to give up in situations like this, and he's going. All right, that's it. You good on the 450s? Anything you want to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Hey, we got something cool this Sunday, I believe it is. SMX Marathon. Jett Lawrence, the 2024 championship season, and what that looks like. It's kind of journey. Jett Lawrence was with Lee and I in the booth this weekend for the 250 main. This Sunday, check out the pivotal races at his run for the Supercross championship. It'll be Detroit, Daytona, Birmingham, and Indianapolis. That's this Sunday starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. Just go to NBCsports.com/now or scan the QR code on the screen to check it out. So if you want a little marathon action, it starts again this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be pretty cool to watch Jett's journey. It was great to have him on the broadcast for the 250 main. I thought he did a great job. It was a lot of fun to have him up there. He was there for the VIP Jett Lawrence, or the Lawrence Brothers experience there in the Fan Fest. So Cool. Good to have them there. United Motorsports moment of the night. Go over to unitedmotorsports.com/title24. Enter your email and get a $15 credit towards your first order. Then you will automatically be entered to into a weekly drawing for $50 credit to your next order. unitedmotorsports.com/title24. We appreciate you guys. But the United Motorsports moment of the night, RV, is Seth Hammaker and an incredible win.
Yes, it was. It's been a long time coming. I think it was like 4 years. I think I heard.
Yeah.
From his first win, so obviously with the trials and tribulations that Mitch has had with all of his, different riders getting hurt in the past few years, and really good to see Seth, and he rode phenomenal. He controlled the first turn. He got a great jump. He got a great start, put himself in the right position, and he just rode. He looked like he was on rails. By far, Saturday night was the best guy on the track, so from a confidence booster, finally getting that win. It's been a long time coming, 4 years since the last one. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do with that moving forward. And that was a big night. That was an east-west shootout, right? So, you had all the heavy hitters in that on Saturday night racing, and he came out up on top and rode phenomenal.
He did. And so just so if you don't know, sorry, he's over at the Dog Pound with the Lawrences. He made a massive change in his program, RV. We talked about it a couple of times now on the broadcast, and we repeat the story because not a lot of times people hear the first story, but he invested in himself, moved everything, went to the Dog Pound and rides with Hymas and the Lawrences when the Lawrences were riding. Now they're injured, but they take he's working with Michael Byrne now for his coaching. And I like it. It's really cool to see when you invest in yourself and you make that change, RV, like you did when you went to the Baker factory and started working with Eldon, and then you just see the shit start to pay off. That's really, really cool. And I'm happy for him because like you mentioned it, dude, 4 years was the last time that he won. That is crazy. And then to stay with it, because he's had some gnarly injuries and some big crashes. I'm pumped for him, and it was well-deserved. Like you said, RV, no one could have said it better. He was out there. It was a showdown race. He beat the best guys, and he deserved that win.
It looked like he did it. He looked like he did it with ease too, right? Like being tough track, ruddy, soft conditions, the east, the west, showdown. And he was able to, harness that speed, but also that consistency, and just rode phenomenal again.
Yeah, on a very, 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 again, we're going to talk about again, a very difficult track. So I feel if he's in this situation and on another track condition that isn't as challenging as that, I feel like he'll be even more comfortable. So great job, Seth. We are very proud of you. I saw him actually on the way to the airport. He was filling up his rental car. I was doing the same thing, and he was all stoked. So that's the United Motorsports moment of the night. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. Hey, Tom Vialle, dude, that guy is sneaky, bro. He's sneaky.
Yeah, what's he sitting, Aaron? I think is he sitting with a 1 point?
No, he's a points lead. Yeah,
1 point lead right now.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Go.
Yeah. So as we're looking, Tom Vialle 79 points, Max Anstey down 1, Seth down 11, RJ down 12. So that's it. Look at that right there. Talk about Seth 11 down, still in it for a championship hunt here. But yes, Tom Vialle. Slow start to the season, hasn't been spectacular this year, but he's been consistent right there, and he sits with a 1 point lead going into this weekend off. So, I think that's going to be a big confidence booster for him. As we know kind of how these Europeans, that weekend off can do a lot of good for most riders. So it'll be interesting to see when he does come back or when we come back racing, what he can do with that 1 point lead.
The thing that I like, I think one of Vialle's biggest attributes is him being a 2-time MXGP MX2 champ, and then he's defending champ. Even though sometimes like he, might not be the fastest, just how his championship perspective, I think he races not necessarily always for a race win, RV, but I feel like he's a big picture guy. And look, here he is. Like, we didn't talk about him much at Tampa, and then he comes out firing at Daytona. He does well, is challenging RJ, and then now he's there. He's sneaky.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's looking really good as we're closing down that east-west, those that side of that series, right? They get 8 rounds per side. So much shorter than the 450s. So you have to stay on it. You have to be consistent. And he's sitting with a 1-point lead. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when he goes home. He gets a weekend off, and what he can do with that from the mental side of it and come out even better than he has. Because like I said, he has started off, compared to his last year. I thought he was a bit lethargic the beginning of this season.
Yeah. Haiden Deegan, he was killing it in time qualifying practice. He won his heat race. I think he's been a different guy since he won that Triple Crown at Arlington. He's found that speed. He's riding the way that we all thought that he should and would, and he's coming into his prime right now as far as the season goes. At a good time. I know it wasn't a race win, but from a points perspective, he gained some more points in the championship. What did you take away? He had a close one, tripling into the corner.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, hitting that quad. I think some guys did it that I saw race day live, but yes, he was one of the only 250 guys hitting that, and just came up way short, as we just saw, and has to go underneath the catch net and in little detour off the track. Very, very costly.
Do you think he should have been trying that with how close he was? Like, what's your analysis on that?
I think that, being that the way the track was breaking down, I think that was asking a little too much out of the track. Previous times before casing that, front end a little bit high, having to wrench on the bike a bit hard to make that quad. Yeah, clearly it's faster to jump it, but look what, obviously making a mistake like that on such a critical part of the track was very, very costly. So maybe just asking too much, or for sure, and maybe did ask too much out of the track and himself to hit that quad and be the only one. And it was a big costly mistake for him, because I think he could have charged up obviously a bit further if it wasn't for that.
Dude, he got to, and then he said that his gears were messed up, which is crazy. I've never really heard of that, of like casing a jump and then your internal gears gets messed up. He said he kind of just had to ride it on home. So anyhow.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously that was a hard hit, but we also take a lot harder than that on these motorcycles. But yeah, if that was the case, a transmission or a little bit of a malfunction, to finish it out strong and collect those points, right? It comes down to collecting as many points as you can every single time you're on the track.
Dunlop debate this week. I like this. I can't wait to hear what this is where your expertise, for me, just like I love listening to your perspective. Is speaking of Dunlop, what tire are you guys running this weekend?
We're honestly, I don't even know the name. I think 34. We're got 34s on the back right now. And then once we go to outdoors, we'll be running that scoop tire, the MX-11 or whatever. It's, the 11. So, yeah.
So all you people at Spring-a-Ding that listen to Title 24, my man RV is dropping some hints. If he's doing that, you need to do what RV is doing, because he ain't about to put his blood on the track without the proper shiz. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. We got to go see Rob Fox at Dunlop. He's here this weekend, and Dunlop trucks up here. So yeah, it's been good.
All right. So Dunlop debate. I want you to tell me, or us, 3 points leaders, which has the best chance to finish it. Coop has a 15-point lead. Deegs has a 12-point lead. Vialle with a 1-point lead. Who of those 3 guys in their respective classes, who has the best shot to win?
I'm at right now with Coop, the way he sits, the way his mental capacity, his mental strength, his current riding abilities. meaning, we've just talked about his improvement in the whoops, with everything that has happened thus far. Definitely going to go with Coop on that. Webb, it's his championship to lose, and then drop down to Haiden with a 12-point lead. Anytime you have anything over 5 or 6 points, that's a nice little cushion. Like now we'll drop to as we're looking at Haiden right now, 129, sits 129 for points, 12 down for Juju. Cole Davies 25 down. So now we'll go to Tom Vialle with a 1-point lead. Man, that's still winner takes all type situation. Tom Vialle with 79 points, Max Yancey down 1, Seth Hammaker down 11, RJ Hampshire down 12. So the top 4 are pretty close in that group there, but a 1-point lead is in my eyes, it's basically 0, right? So a 0-point lead tied. So that one there is the closest race we have for us to be watching, and it's gonna be tough. That 1 point, like I said, it's basically not like having any lead. Obviously it's nice to be holding that red plate from a confidence standpoint, from all of that, but there's no room for error.
No, there isn't, dude. You're calling. I don't know. I'm going Haiden, and the reason that I'm going Haiden is, and I know he's in some open air stadiums. I mean, the rest of they are, but there's less races. He's got a decent points lead. I like the momentum he has. Sometimes the 250 guys throughout history are a little less consistent, so I think he'll get a little bit of help there. And what I'm, compared to Coop, the 450 guys are more consistent most of the time, and they have a few more races. So I think I would take Deegan in this situation has the best shot of closing it out. That doesn't mean I don't think Cooper is going to win, but I think it's going to take a little bit more, and he's going to have to things necessarily go his way. It's just, I don't know. That's what I
being that the 250 class has, they're coming down to, close to being at the end of their season. Yes. 12-point lead with, what do they have? 3 or 4 rounds left on the East.
Yeah.
Well,
there's 2 more showdowns for all of them. So that's
yes. Yep. Which obviously big wrench thrown in the program, by the way, right? Racing competitors on the other opposite coast, and you're putting everybody on one gate, so starts to become even more critical because points are even that much more valuable, in those positions.
Well, and also, RV, my favorite, your favorite, Birmingham is a Triple Crown.
That's right.
The Triple Crown. I love it. So you got that. All right. That's going to be good. All right. So quad lock question of the week. Got a ton of fan engagement. Again, thank you guys for all the support. It was awesome. This week's winner is Jake, and it's Jaike. And Jake had something really cool. And I thought that we could go in depth on this, RV. But Jake asked, as racers, did you guys listen to the media spinning a narrative on you all week, then do the thing they've talked about because it's on your mind? Example being Sexton and his run of mistakes. So go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Sometimes, you can, sometimes the noise, the outside noise can penetrate your armor. I think in a position like Chase's, there is a lot of noise right now. There's noise from me, Ricky. There's noise from you, and along with everybody else out there that are calling it how they see it. So either you can kind of use that to your advantage, and try to and obviously block it out, but be like, hey, I'm gonna prove all these people wrong. But now where it gets maybe a little bit, where you can't, I guess, override, where you try too hard, where it's like, I'm going to show these guys what the hell is up today. And, you can ask so much, maybe too much out of the track, too much out of the bike, because you're trying to prove somebody wrong also. So there's a fine line there. But being in our position, Ricky, as ex-racers, those current racers, there's a lot of noise, and they have to be able to block it out. That's what makes, these individual sports, especially like SMX and pro motocross, so elite is the mental game that you have to show up every weekend when you've been struggling like that.
I think that, the media is a lot different nowadays, obviously. And then with social media and everything being right there, you can read it all. Where, dude, when I was racing, even before your time, RV, like you didn't see things for days, and you only heard things that, and it was like a week delay. But I think that some guys are really good at managing that. And I think some guys, it's more challenging. And, when I look at a guy like Cooper Webb, I feel he is one of the guys, and I wrote on my notes. I think that you go back to, I think it was, he knows he lost that race in Daytona when he made that little bobble there in the rhythm lane, and that pissed him off. And he uses situations like that to really motivate him, where other riders, when they make a mistake, it manifests into more mistakes. And then they can't get it out of their head. And so that's kind of the difference in what I think what Jake is asking, how you did stuff like this, or how you handled situations like this. And so I would do the best to not try to make mistakes over and over and over. But that started at a very young age for me, RV. Like my mom would always say, all right, if you make one mistake, you can't make another one. So, years and years of practice. And I'm sure your dad used to tell you the same thing. Like you can't turn one mistake into two or three. And some people, it's just a little bit more challenging. So going to like for Coop, I don't think the outside noise bothers him. I can't speak for him, but he's really, really good at that. And he even said in the podium this weekend that he was riding shitty and he was pissed, and he took that and used it as a motivator. For me, I was opposite of that. Like I could use it to be better, but I didn't need it to motivate me.
You.
Yeah. And like for me, RV, like when I was battling with Reedy in 03, and there was a lot of noise outside about how he was better and how I had lost it and all that stuff. I stayed true to me, and I knew what I needed to do to try to win. And I'm sure can you remember a certain championship to where there was maybe a little more outside noise than most, but you just stuck to it and to your core values, and it ended up working out in the end? Like, can you think of something specific?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily use outside noise, but obviously, Anaheim, there's probably 2 seasons that I can look back. Anaheim won, right? I left there, I think, with a 16th, right? So, and I think I was a past champion prior to leaving Anaheim that year with a 16th. So I had to dig myself out of the hole, right? So maybe it wasn't necessarily from the media side of it, outside noise from the media, but it was, I could have definitely put that and looked at it and dwelled on it and let Saturday night roll into Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and disrupt my week. I think you have to be very good at compartmentalizing as a high level athlete, and what happens on Saturday is Saturday, and you go back to the truck, you debrief, you figure out what you need to work on. If it is you call it work on the motorcycle, or if it's working on yourself, and you go back and after that it's debriefed. That's the new goal for Monday. And you can't dwell on what had happened Saturday night, because then it starts coming in and infiltrating during the week, and then your weeks are miserable. So you got to be very good at compartmentalizing and leaving all that shit on the table and moving on to the next day, and keep what the main goal is, and that's to win races. And if you win races, typically you put yourself in a very good spot to win the championship.
And one thing I think also that should be mentioned, and this is a co-producer, keeping your camp, like your internal circle tight, and making sure that you have the right people. RV, and I was an outsider through your career and knowing exactly who you had on your side, but you didn't have a lot of people, and feel like you didn't have one person telling you this, one person telling you that. It seemed like everyone, or the few people that you had around you, all were telling you the same thing. Not that you needed to be told anything, but affirmation is always nice. And I think that goes a long way. Like just like me, I had a couple of people would take some advice here and there from others. And if it made sense, I would have tried to apply it. But that inner circle is important. And sometimes you have to do an eval of that if you're not getting the results, I feel like.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. Small circle, tight knit, everybody out for the same goal. And sometimes that's a little tough because typically as athletes, myself, you, Ricky, Chase, Coop, all of those, and all the current guys now, they have their tight knit group. That's their during the week group. It's not the race team, right? The race team is back at headquarters and working there. But you have guys like, we use Chase for an example. Like he's at the Baker's factory. He's got Kier and a few of his groups or his riders or close knit people there. But making sure that those inner circle are also working for that same goal as with a team and vice versa, team working with the tight knit too. You don't want those two at odds. Your tight circle with the team at odds is definitely something you don't want.
I think going back to what RV and I have always talked about here on this podcast, and for the people who listen to this podcast, watch this podcast for the last 3 years, like we are big on, you go out and you focus on you. You know what your racers do. You know where they're good. You know where they maybe have some challenging parts, and their weaknesses and strength. And you focus on yourself, because the rest is just going to take care of itself. Just like you talked about on today's pod about Sexton. Go regroup, go win races, and the rest is going to take care of itself. You did that, and I did that. I didn't care what people were saying, and you just go out there and you focus on yourself, and you don't worry about that. As soon as you start worrying about that, that's when goes awry. So anyhow, good question, Jake. That was awesome. Appreciate the shout out for the attaboy on the broadcast. It was I thought it was pretty good. I'm always beating myself up. I can always do better, but overall it was smooth and needed to be smooth, and I made it happen. So it was fun. That's the quad lock question of the week. I love that. I love that segment, RV. We can kind of dig into the trenches.
Yeah. Really break it down.
That's right. Next week, Motorsports on NBC. Well, we're going to have a week off, which is really nice. But as you guys know, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, SMX Insider with Weege and JT. Top 10 moments of the season. And then Friday, 11:20 a.m. Eastern time, IMSA Weather, WeatherTech Sports Car Championship qualifying. That'll be live on Peacock. And then 2:10 p.m. Eastern, the Michelin Pilot Challenge. That'll be live on Peacock. And then Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, 12 hours of Sebring. That'll be live on Peacock as well. I don't like traveling on my weekends off. Otherwise, I would love to go down to Sebring and check that out. It's a few hours south. But anyhow, that's the Motorsports on NBC this week. No Supercross, although you can go on Peacock and check everything out. Some old races if you want. But that's it, RV, for this week. It's interesting time. It's going to be interested to see, like, moving forward. The biggest thing for me is how does Chase Sexton react going into the final stretch? In years past, he does a lot of his best work, and he's more consistent at the end of the series, and I would say the championship stretch, if you will. So that's what I'm going to kind of be looking for. What about yourself?
Yeah, how Chase can rebound. Also, how if Coop himself staying in this position, keeping this 15 point lead, and then obviously dropping down into see what Tom with the 1 point lead, along with Haiden 12 points, right? Cole Davies, RJ Hampshire. There we still have in the 250 class. We still have 3 or 4 guys that are eligible from a championship standpoint, from a point standpoint alone. And like you said, we're going to these last 8-ish rounds. We're going to open stadiums, so that's going to be the big kicker, right? What kind of weather is going to fall on our shoulders, and what they're going to have to deal with, because that could be a big. You just gotta think that we're going to have at least one mud race, let's call it. And that's really going to turn the tides potentially, right? So, and from a fan's perspective, that is going to be very interesting to watch.
Good. It definitely is. Thanks for logging in, dude, and downloading on the Starlink today, dude. You're on Starlink, yeah?
Yeah.
It's good, dude.
Yeah, Starlink. We got it all set up. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to Brax and Gage. Everybody come out, follow their progression. Hope you guys just keep us posted. And I'm sure that they will do well, and they'll give it their best. They got the best mentor in the business, so good luck to you guys.
I hope so. It's gonna be a rough week just because of the learning that they're gonna have to do so quickly. But that's why we're here. We're here to learn and not necessarily for a result at this point. So
I'm happy for you guys. You guys are gonna do great. Thank you, United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Foxo, and Dunlop. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all the support. Questions were really, really good this week. Maybe we'll go through do some house cleaning for next week's pod and answer a whole bunch of questions since it's an off week. But we appreciate everybody. Remember, you can watch us on Peacock. We are on demand there, and then Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, and of course all of the podcast applications if you want to only listen to the audio version. Appreciate you guys. Thanks again for all the support. RV, thank you. Good luck to the boys. We'll see you next week.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.